Hey guys, welcome back to another Battlefield 6 video or future Battlefield video, and today I want to go over 25 things that I'm hoping for in the next Battlefield and that I think that the next Battlefield needs to have to succeed. These are points that I'm personally hoping for, but there are also points that you guys brought up in the comments and that I would have completely forgotten about if you would have not brought them up. So thanks a lot again to everyone who commented below the last videos and told me exactly what you expect to see in the next Battlefield game. We do already know that they will go back to 64 players, that the next Battlefield game will have a class system again and no specialists, and that it will have a modern setting and a single player campaign. So I don't have this stuff on the list because we already know about this. It wouldn't make much sense to include it. I'm also not mentioning basic things like a scoreboard, for example, or voice chat or a proper squad management system, because I feel like they would be like requesting to have weapons in the game. I know Battlefield 2042 missed all of those features, but it's simple and fundamental mechanics that every Battlefield game should have, so I would not include them on this list. I'm just hoping that DICE learned from the mistakes they made in 2042 and include these features, these so-called legacy features, right from the start this time. But I want to start with one thing that it would belong on this features list that I would expect automatically, but it should be handled a bit differently, and that's the all chat. We have it in 2042 as well, at least it was added later on, it was not available right from the start. And first of all, I hope they will add it right from the start this time, but it should also be enabled by default and with the option to turn it off if you don't want to see what everyone is writing and if you only want to write with your team and with your squad. In 2042 right now it's the other way around. It is disabled by default and then you have to go to the options and turn it on if you want to chat with everyone, and I feel like this is the wrong way around and it should be enabled right away. If this is nothing for you, you can just turn it off in the options. A feature I would like to see in Battlefield that we didn't have so far, at least I couldn't remember that we ever had it in a Battlefield game, is proximity chat. BattleBit had this and I found that this was really funny and it was also helpful. It was not just fun, it was also helpful to communicate with nearby players, but it's also helpful for pilots or for tank drivers to communicate with their crew without actually having to be in one squad with them. So they can just ask an engineer around them for help, for example. Maybe it should be turned off by default and with the option to turn it on in the settings. One thing where I would like to see different options as well this time is crossplay, because right now we only have crossplay turned on or turned off, and for PC players this is technically enough, but for console players I think it would be a huge benefit if they could select console only crossplay instead of just turn it on or off, because that would keep that huge pool of console players open so they can play together and then the PC players can play with other PC players. And another thing I would like to see on console is full mouse and keyboard support. Both Xbox and PlayStation support this, but it always depends on the game if it works or not. And for Battlefield 2042 it doesn't work. What also doesn't work in 2042 is if you want to play with a PlayStation controller on PC, because it does not have native support for the PS5 controller or not even the PS4 controller. So this would be a nice addition as well. And another point for the consoles, definitely full 120Hz support on consoles. Both consoles do support it, and again, just like the mouse and keyboard, it does depend on the game if it does support it or not, so the new Battlefield should definitely support this. Going a bit more into the game and its features, the number one feature that I would definitely like to see, and I know a lot of you have the same opinion, is a server browser. Please bring back a server browser. This is such a useful tool for all players to find the matches that they're actually looking for, and especially in regions with a lower player count, it's necessary so players can quickly find matches at all and they don't have to click through playlists like they have to do now in 2042, hoping that eventually they will find someone to play with and that they find a full server. Plus, another benefit that the server browser has is that everyone knows that the game does not have SBMM, because you cannot have SBMM when you have a server browser, and you have more control over the game you end up on and the server you step into than you have with the automatic matchmaking that we have right now. And if it's not a server browser, then at least give us a quick play button with filters that are similar to Call of Duty. So you can select a map and a mode combination or several maps and modes, and then you get matched onto a server that runs this. I would also like to see classic smaller modes like Rush or Team Deathmatch right from the start, and not just added like alongside a season or a few months into the game's live service. Bring them right from the start alongside the bigger combined arms modes like Breakthrough or Conquest that are more typical for Battlefield for sure, but there's also a huge part of the player base that loves modes like Rush or Team Deathmatch, maybe to play them the whole evening or maybe just to warm up for Breakthrough or Conquest. What I would also like to see are night maps with goggles and everything, so kind of like the night version of Savot that we had back then. I know in 2042 we had Manifest, which was kind of like a night map, but then again it didn't really hit the spot of a night map. It was not the same, and I would really like to see a real night map return. It doesn't have to be like 10 of them, but one of them at least would be great. Another point, going a bit more into the game now and into its mechanics, are runways for aircraft instead of spawning in the air, because I always feel like this feels just more realistic. And in general, instead of the whole call-in system that we had in 2042, I also found that the base spawn of vehicles, so that they're just standing around like they were in Battlefield 4, this was actually such a cool feature, so it would be cool if this would return. What I would not like to see again are the extreme weather events, like tornadoes for example. They looked nice at the beginning, but they actually got old very, very fast, and 2 weeks or something into the game, I found them very, very annoying, and they always came up in a moment where we didn't really need them, and it just disturbed the whole flow of the game. So I'm really hoping that this stuff does not return. I do like rain, I do like weather effects and changing weather and everything, but these extreme weather events like the tornadoes, maybe even the sandstorms, became really, really, really annoying. Then there are two things I would like to see return from Battlefield 5, because I thought they were actually really good in Battlefield 5. One are the squad reinforcements or the commando mode of Battlefield 4. So if you want to use stronger weapons like an airstrike for example, or a missile, you have to earn points, and then with these reinforcement points you have to pay these reinforcements, so they're not for free, and they should also not be available for each single player like they are in Delta Force, but instead for each squad. So you have to work together as a squad, you have to earn points as a squad, and then your squad leader can call in these reinforcements. What I would also like to see are resupply stations that we also had in Battlefield 5 for infantry and also for vehicles. I know this is a controversial topic, especially for vehicles. For infantry not so much, because I think a lot of us found that they were really useful, especially when you have a squad that is not really working together and then you're just running behind them requesting ammunition or heals for example. So with the resupply stations you can just go there yourself and pick up whatever you need. What I also found was really helpful was the ability to pick up ammo or health from a player's back. We also had this in Battlefield 5, so I thought this was a cool mechanic, but it never returned in a Battlefield game so far. And especially for vehicles, I found that this attrition system that we had in Battlefield 5 was really good, because it forced vehicles to go back to these supply stations, also to the repair stations, to fully repair themselves and to replenish their ammunition. So you force them into this loop of flying across the map or with the tanks just driving across the map, and then at some point they have to retreat and they have to get back and give infantry some time to breathe. I found that this was really useful in Battlefield 5. And when talking about infantry, of course, we have to talk about gunplay and weapon customization. So I'm hoping that the next Battlefield game will have a good gunplay again, with a good heavy feel to the weapons and to the recoil as well, but not visual recoil where your gun is shooting to a point that you're not actually aiming at. So I hope that they will keep this, that your bullets, except for the spread of course, for the natural weapon spread, that your bullets are actually going where you are aiming at. And for the weapon customization, I hope that we will get a system with more than 4 attachment slots for each weapon. Maybe not like it is in Delta Force, it can be a bit overwhelming, even though this is a really, really cool system, I gotta be honest, and it's just fun to be able to customize your weapon so much more than we can in 2042, and to tinker around with it and try different weapon builds. So give us a little bit more to customize our weapons. And what I would not like to see return is a suppression effect that that affects your accuracy or spread like it was in Battlefield 1. Because that was so annoying if someone's shooting across the map but they miss you with their shots, and then your gun is randomly spraying bullets, especially as a sniper. I found that it was very annoying, and then your gun is not accurate anymore. So it should not be a benefit for someone just spraying across the map and then diminishing everyone else's accuracy. If they add suppression, it should be more like a visual effect. This is enough. So it's something you can see and you can feel, but it shouldn't be something that actually affects your weapon's spread or accuracy. One system I would like to keep from Battlefield 2042 though, because I think this was probably the only good addition we had in 2042, is the plus system. I personally hope it will stay, or maybe something similar to it. Maybe something like World War III has, that you have a backpack with you, and in this backpack you can have another optic, for example, or a suppressor for your weapon, so you can quickly switch this and adapt to different situations. What I think is also necessary for the next Battlefield game is a test range, so something like we had in Battlefield 5, where you can test weapons and vehicles and try out different modifications, or especially when it comes to vehicles, where you can simply learn how to fly or how to drive a tank, and then with this knowledge you can get into a match and actually help your team. And while we are still talking about Battlefield 5, of course I would also like to see a lot of movement mechanics from Battlefield 5 again. Maybe not that massive slide that we had in Battlefield 5. I think this should be maybe toned down a bit so it feels useful to get behind cover, but not like a Call of Duty slide. But what I would definitely like to see return is crouch sprinting, because that was really useful. Rolling when falling from great heights, when you're prone on the back you can still shoot, and that you can actually roll around and you're not just lying there like a turtle and trying to maneuver somehow. And then of course a good automatic leaning and peeking that feels natural, or maybe a manual leaning and peeking. But I know that this is always hard for console players because of the limited buttons of the controller. For us PC players is not that much of a deal, so we have enough keys to map, but for the controller players this is getting really hard. So if it works automatically and if it works really good and it feels natural, I'm fine with that. Now a few other points that I have at the end. First of all, I would like to see first-person takedowns again. I know that the third-person takedowns can be sold as takedown animations in the store, so I'm guessing that they will stick to this, but I personally feel that the first-person animations are just so much more immersive, and normally they look a lot better because you're right in between instead of just watching it from the outside. And talking about watching, what I would also like to see is a spectator mode. We hadn't had it in 2042, so this is something I think is important to identify cheaters, but also to help people who want to do screenshots or cinematic scenes, so creators as well. A feature I also keep requesting in each and every video I'm doing is the squad spawn camera. Last time we had this was in Battlefield 5, but in a different way to Battlefield 4. I found that Battlefield 4 actually did the best job with this. So you had this overview of the deploy screen, and then on the side somewhere you had this squad spawn camera where you could see what is happening around your squad mate that you're trying to spawn on. So this is definitely a feature I will keep requesting. I did it all the way through 2042 with all of the videos I did of features that I still requested for the game. This was always one point that I thought definitely needs to return to Battlefield, and I hope it does with the next one. Same goes for the clan and platoon system. I used this a lot just to find other players, or I also had my own platoon where subscribers could join and then play together. This was actually really cool, and I wonder why it even went away, because I thought it was really a useful part where people could find like-minded players that they wanted to play with. And another mechanic that I hope will return, or finally return, is assist counts as kill. We hadn't had this in Battlefield 2042, and this was so annoying, especially when you dealt like 80% of the damage to an enemy and then someone else shot them and you just got an assist, but you didn't get the kill, or you didn't get the assist counts as kill like it was in former Battlefield titles. And especially since you had to rank up weapons with these kills and then it didn't count when you dealt 80% of the damage to an enemy, it was even more annoying. And of course, the number one point that I want to see in the next Battlefield game is that it launches as a smooth, polished and optimized game with a lot of content, or at least enough content, and with a solid roadmap for at least 1 year after launch. So we won't end up with the same mess again that we had in 2042, where the season 1 was supposed to start in January, and then they said, oh, well, we have to fix the base game first, and season 1 maybe is coming somewhere in summer. But yeah, that was my wish list for the next Battlefield game. Tell me in the comments below what you would like to see in the next Battlefield game, whatever I forgot on the list, or whatever you like to add to a point that I've already brought up. And of course, as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman, and you are awesome.